Hey guys, it's me, and today I'm going to do something that I don't think I've ever really done before. I'm going to talk about my views and opinions on certain YouTube channels. More specifically one today, but we'll see where this leads. Maybe I talk about my favorite right now, or my inspirations, my least favorites, pet peeves, whatever. Maybe this will be a common thing, maybe this will just be a one-time thing, we'll see. But I really, for the longest time, wanted to talk about this, probably for the last year or so, but now I'm finally going to do it. I'm going to talk about the YouTube channel that way back in my early days, before I even had a channel, I just adored this channel, and the guy who operated it, and I looked up to him a lot, and he was one of the inspirations for making my terrible old content. Ben the Looney. And I'm sure you guys recognize this name if you were around in, say, like 2012, 2013, maybe 2014. I think that's when it started to die down. He was a really controversial figure in the commentary community on YouTube. You know, that community that just seeks to destroy everything it touches? That's the one. For the longest time, Ben the Looney, or Ben Tannehill as he's now known, was a giant punching bag for that community because he had unpopular opinions in his videos that I shared pretty much all of. Basically, every single thing he had a taste in, like cartoons or celebrity culture, music, whatever, which were all the things he covered in a series, I basically agreed with him almost verbatim on that stuff. Whether it be things like the Looney Tunes show or the downhill spiral of WWE, the greatness of WCW or the N64, or how I thought that regular show and Adventure Time were overrated, that kind of stuff. And he was one of the only people that actually talked about the latter two things being, Adventure Time and regular show. Which, of course, back when those shows had rabid fan bases, I don't know if they still do, that didn't make him any friends on YouTube. But hey, I was finally glad to see that somebody was talking out about it, but I found Ben way before all of that. It was about late 2010, maybe early 2011. Nobody ever says 2011, so I guess 2011. I found his video called Ben Rants Modern Cartoons, which, side note, Ben the Looney used to make a series called Ben Rants / Ben Salutes, where he'd rant or salute a certain topic. It's usually cartoons or entertainment stuff, but sometimes not, but most of the time it is. I found his video about modern cartoons, and again, as I said, I agreed with it verbatim. I also felt that 3D animation was getting too prevalent and hand-drawn stuff should come back, and that the new writing styles were kind of getting immature and kind of run-of-the-mill same kind of stuff, which, if you look, in some respects, we definitely moved out of that, but in others, we're exactly the same spot. It really depends on where you look. But back then, that really resonated with me. I've been having those same problems, albeit I was a much younger person than he was, but I still definitely agreed with everything he said, almost to the exact wording. And this kept going after I kept watching his stuff over and over. Then when I finally got a YouTube channel, the first thing I did was actually subscribe to Ben the Looney. Yeah, that's the first thing I did on this YouTube channel, because I was that big of a fan. In my eyes, he could do basically no wrong. Which, I know that kind of seems a little weird to talk about now, but I was a young teenager when I first found his stuff, so yeah, and also I was pretty new to not really the internet, but more YouTube culture. I would always watch his stuff every Friday whenever it came out, whether it be something I knew about or whether it be something that I didn't know about. It was because of him I found out a lot of shows like Gravity Falls, Animaniacs, Tiny Toons. Without Ben, I wouldn't have found out about those shows. Well, I probably would have found out about Gravity Falls, but I wouldn't have given them a chance. Because he and I had such similar opinions, I knew I could trust what he had to say. I'm actually struggling to think of one that I didn't agree with him on early on. His older ones he's not very proud of because, it's really off the cuff. Kind of like what I do, although mine I try to style it a bit more. And he had not the best artwork and his joke timing wasn't very good, which, yeah, looking back I can definitely agree. But back then I didn't mind. I just wanted to see him and do whatever he did. Then I say about I guess when his new channel started up, because at some point he was doing pretty well on his Puffyzilla Man 4 channel, but then all of a sudden his computer broke down and then he couldn't get into the other account, so he had to make a new account, which is the one we all know today. And then I'd say that account is where he really started to get better. His scripts were getting better, his timing was getting better, and of course the artwork was starting to improve. And I'd say he started hitting his golden streak after his Simpsons review. All the way up there up till, I don't know. But like some of his golden ones in there, like his mini rants, or the top 11 cartoons I hate that everyone else likes, part 2. Some of those were my favorites back then, and I really still kind of enjoy them today. Every so often I like to go back and listen to them and kind of take myself back to when I was so young and inexperienced. But, of course, as time goes on, things change. Am I talking about myself or Ben? Both, actually. First, let's start with Ben. He started to take his series in a new direction. After he started ignoring all the trolls and whatever, which, good on ya. Because those guys, of course, they're trolls. They never amount to anything good, right? Exactly. But there was one problem, though, is that he was so shut off from feedback that he wasn't listening to some of the issues that he was starting to have in his stuff. His mic quality started to dip a bit more, although at least he wasn't having these random audio skips where he'd talk in that, "Miss, what do you have to say?" It's like that. He's talking and then it cuts out, but he does put it up there in text, at least what cut out. But the mic quality was not good. But then he started to do probably the biggest thing that turned me off from his new-ish Ben Rants videos was the exact same thing he criticized Family Guy for, having long, drawn-out jokes that just kind of repeat the same punchline. We've seen this happen to Family Guy, we've seen this happen to Nostalgia Critic, and we've seen that happen to Ben the Looney. Granted, at least Ben the Looney doesn't have some kind of horrible scandal like the Nostalgia Critic does. Can't say that name anymore without reviling. But yeah, like his Johnny Test one, or his Incredible Crew one, or actually basically any of them towards the end before the show ended, he just kind of put in these long, drawn-out jokes, and sure, some of the characters were kind of fun, but they were kind of characters that were good for once in a while, but then they outlived their usefulness. Albeit, the finale he gave when he decided to end off Ben the Looney, at least the character, and the Ben Rant/Salute series with the Yellow Submarine, that did get a nice finality with the characters, and it was a pretty good end. Until it wasn't. He brought him back for a little while, and then he decided to talk about more modern things with the character trying to suppress his rage. An interesting thing, but it kind of rubs me off as like the Space Ghost Coast to Coast revival. Remember that when the Game Tap episodes came out? Sure, it had that one had at least had the finale, but anyways, that's off point. Basically what I'm getting at is it just kind of felt forced-ish, but it was also kind of good to see him back. But he wasn't quite the same. But then he decided to retire that for good, and then that's when things got really different. Because, you see, despite the fact I wasn't a big fan of his newer Ben Rants videos, I still stuck around. Yeah, I'd usually watch them once or twice and then I'd kind of be done with them, but I'd still watch. Because Ben, I still felt was a cool, relatable person. But, of course, all good things have to come to an end. The Ben who is on the channel now is almost unrecognizable from the man he once was. And I understand, people change, and that's not his fault. He can be whoever he wants to be. This is America. But, I don't know, he's just so different. He used to be kind of calm, relatable, get-along person who's a big fan of cartoons with a semi-family-friendly approach to this gutter-mouthed, sex-driven porn artist hippie guy. I don't know, am I the only one who kind of sees the, dramatic change in personality? Aside from the voice, it's like somebody completely different took over. Albeit his art is good, but I just can't look at half of it because, I don't like looking at that kind of stuff. But I said that Ben wasn't the only one that changed. I changed too, right? Yeah. My senses and taste kind of changed a little bit over time. Because when Ben started making those videos that I wasn't a big fan of, I started checking out other things, like The Angry Video Game Nerd, or Rangoon Reviews, which they don't do very much, Ashens, or even, yes, The Nostalgia Critic. Pfft. All people who did the same things, and while I didn't exactly share my exact views with all the time, that suddenly didn't mean as much to me anymore. I was more going there for the entertainment value, Well, yes, Ben's stuff was definitely entertaining. One of the big draws to me was that he was a very relatable, able to talk to, approachable person that I had a lot in common with. However, now, as he himself wasn't changing yet, but I was changing in what I wanted out of something, and that his channel wasn't exactly giving me what I was looking for, I started branching out to other things and looking at it to the point where I kind of gave up a little bit. I mean, I wasn't the diehard fan that I was anymore, although I still did stick around, just not nearly as loyally as I used to. But of course, now I've still subscribed, but while he doesn't upload as frequently, whenever I watch it, it's always something like, wow, this is jarring compared to the guy I used to know. Now you're just somebody that I used to know. Yeah, his older stuff may not have been the best, but it always does hold a special place in my heart. The guy now, I'm sure he's a nice guy if you met him in person. I'm just not that big of a fan of his content anymore, his newer stuff. His older stuff, like I said, not great, but I'll always go back and watch it to experience a little bit of nostalgia, because that was a big thing for me. He was one of the reasons I decided to get a YouTube channel and be so outspoken about my opinions in the first place. It's just a sad sight to see that he changed so much. Although it is understandable that this personality change did happen, as you know, you can't stay the same way forever, and the person I am in 5 years may not be the same person I am now. But it's just that it happened so suddenly and so drastically. He's basically the antithesis of the person that he built himself to be previously. Which, yeah, like I said, he can do whatever he wants. It's just surprising as a longtime fan to see that, and it's, with my sense of taste and what I enjoy, it's not at all aligning with what I find enjoyable. I mean, I'm still subscribed to his channel, and for whatever few uploads he does do, I check him out, although he certainly has gotten a bit outspoken in different kinds of beliefs, but that's neither here nor there for me. Ben the Looney is kind of an interesting case for me. It's definitely a time capsule for what I really enjoyed back in the day and kind of enjoy now, sort of. But it's just kind of interesting to see just how people can change over time, whether it be yourself or the people that you looked up to. But now I've got different people that I take inspiration from, like Pie Guy Rules or TV Trash, or of course Phil Vischer. But Ben the Looney, though, will always have a special place. I wouldn't quite say in my heart, but I guess in my spleen, because I did enjoy his older content. And admittedly, a couple of his newer videos are kind of interesting when he's just kind of talking about random stuff. Sometimes it's enjoyable, except for the political stuff. I don't care for that. Because as much as he says, he is not unbiased. Not at all. But whatever. I've gone on long enough. What'd you guys think of Ben the Looney when he was out back in his heyday and now? Also, what do you want to hear me talk about next YouTube-wise? Do you want me to talk about my inspirations or my least favorite channels, my favorite right now? What do you want to hear? Alright guys, see you around.